When last we met, the chess grandmaster Radimus fell to us in our Pokemon battle, and the lights went down with him. We proceed back south through the darkened gym and eventually bump into Elias, who says he has secured an escape route for us. Yeah, how long was the farce supposed to last? Elias's mind has returned to normal, and worse, all pretenses about Elias's motivations are discarded. Team Meteor is here to help him ambush us. He says that Radimus's gambit of hypnotizing him was supposed to illuminate to Elias that Luna's remaining with the psychic gym leader was of her own volition. Elias says, though, that such a revelation is not enough to dissuade him of his efforts to force her to return. He says he won't suffer our meddling, saying that Solaris has told him of our exploits against Meteor. He intends to have Meteor scour the land of Reborn City in holy judgment. Kane intends to have Nidoking bash these two grunts into the walls. He bursts through the door to tell us that Luna was captured by none other than Ace. Though Elias is irked by Kane's appearance, he suddenly exudes confidence and says that even against both of us he will not be stopped. Kane, however, knows that the gym fight left my team in bad shape. Sure, let's go with that. Kane valiantly tells us that he will fight Elias on his own, not mattering if he loses against him. He gives us the window to get out of the castle. Upon leaving, us as viewers get to learn why Elias is so confident, and why Kane appears to understand he has no chance. Elias is not just connected to them, he is one of the Elite Four. Well, try not to die, Kane. Outside, we will try to make our escape through the labyrinth, but going south, we quickly find that Meteor has deployed numerously around this area. We head to the right and immediately get stopped by a grunt. Though he is no problem to defeat, he might be the same grunt from Apophil, as he then employs the most powerful strat. Standing there. Damn you, my one weakness. Playing by the rules. So our escape seems impossible, as to our left is yet another grunt. That's no grunt. That's Radimus. He brushes off the idea he offers up himself about the peculiarity of having a meteor outfit and tells us to follow him. Walking north to a dead end, he tells us he knows of Luna's capture and that Elias will not bend to logic in his taking of Luna. He then gives us a more accurate location for where we can locate Luna and Elias. 7th Street in Reborn. Radimus, I've already been told that once. The streets of Reborn are all fucked up. To this, he gives us the advice to enlist the aid of a gang leader if possible. He also says that he is going to keep the amethyst pendant for a while longer. You know, betrayal has been really fashionable lately, Radimus. That isn't one of your hats too, is it? But he gives us one more reason to trust him, by telling us to read, or rather walk between the lines. He exits stage black screen, and a staircase onto the top of the hedge maze waits for us. With this, we can easily sneak over the heads of Meteor beneath. When you get to the other side of the labyrinth, you could decide to fight some of these grunts, but instead I proceed out of the labyrinth. When you do so, you'll be hard-pressed not to notice the circling Tauros. If you manage to grab a hold of it, it will charge across Route 1, throwing you off just south of the Nature Center. I go into said Nature Center now and catch up on the news. First, Gardevoir talks about how she's searching for Luna. Hey, is this live? As for her interview, this one is definitely not live, though it is lively. The Pokemon is attempting to interview Aya, but the newest gym leader is instead confused why a talking Pokemon broke into her house. This interview is pretty par for the course for Gardevoir, as Aya attempts to call the police only for the Pokemon to out Aya's supposed relationship with Hardy. Aya, needless to say, isn't pleased. Hey Arclight, give me some sanity. The DJ does more than that. He actually spoils the fact that we must save Luna, because that's who he spotlights. Okay, that's just my metagaming. He tells us very little, as it were, only that her Pokemon are Dark type and named after old fantasy. He doesn't even give us her ace directly, but at his comment of how the Cheshire Cat was never too clear, we may be able to guess. Now while we're here and the Reborn City Grand Gates are open, we have an easy way to obtain Dunsparces for the man here at the Nature Center. What is the Pokemon we can receive each time we trade a Dunsparce away? Tyrogue. For that reason, I bring 3 of them here, so that I could obtain 1 of each Hitmon. By the way, these traded Tyrogues come with some chunky stats. Seems like these trades are set to max out 3 IVs and the rest of the stats are buff. Returning to Reborn City, I then go see my magma buds. Maxwell tells us they have our backs for anything. When I bring up 7th Street, he tells us the obvious truth. There is no 7th Street. On the surface. It's literally and figuratively underground. And he tells us to go to a place in Lapis Ward to access it. With that, we head there immediately. The entrance he meant is here, where the lady that previously said the building was only for tenants then opens the way for us. Walking past her into the elevator, we find Chris already here, who brings us down to 7th Street. The music starts the same as it is on the surface in Lapis Ward, but after a moment, it will morph into its own identity. A very chaotic version of Lapis Ward plays, embodying the seething underbelly of the wealthy district above. The cramped and altogether run-down city cavern has several hostile trainers, so be mindful where you step. Down in the bottom left of this burrow is this salesman, who is selling a hodgepodge of different items. These items are very niche, some of them literally for 1 Pokemon, like Ditto's Quick Powder or the Light Ball for Pikachu. Buy things here if you think they'll help you, but at the least, buy a stick and soul candle. You'll need these for later. To the right is another salesman, but this is one we're familiar with. It's Break. He first tells you about something the rest of 7th Street is obsessed with. Rare candy, and not the kind you feed your Pokemon. He mentions that you would need heart scales and shards to make it, and goes on to say how those 2 items are hard to find. You'd have to mine them up, as we have been doing all along. Well, what if we could mine a rock twice? That's what Break sells us. Blast powder. For $2,000 a piece, we can mine a mining rock a second time. When you do so, it will fully remove the rock. You may remember a couple places where that may come in handy. We'll visit those places later this episode. I'm going to buy 8 of these, because 2,000 is a bit steep at this point. You can attempt to walk up this alley here, but you'll quickly overhear a familiar and unpleasant voice. The crone Crodberry is here in 7th Street as well. She apparently is looking through inventory of the yard nearby, appearing to be for the sale of Pokemon. She comes our way and immediately lays into us with insults at the sight of us. When we are relieved of her presence, Maxwell comes around the corner to give us a pep talk. He tells us that Crodberry has been coming around here, flashing money and getting whatever she wants. He wants to put an end to that, and tells us to meet up with him by her house. We'll head up there in a bit as well, once we've become familiar with the rest of 7th. Let's walk into this enclosure of cages the old bag just left. It doesn't take long to look around at the Pokemon in the cages to realize these are the same ones that helped us break out of Blacksteam. First, talk to the upper man, who then boasts he is selling a super rare Pokemon. Well, have we finally found it again? He makes us an offer, and finally, we learn that the colored shards we've been collecting all game can be used here. The man will sell us the mysterious powerful Pokemon for just 2 blue shards. Yes, please. Did you really think this was the end of the chase? Introducing Corin Rouge. The vaguely French thief swipes the Pokemon from our hands and parkours out of the lot, leaving us, once again, empty-handed. Oh yeah, the guy won't refund your shards, and says that finding Corin Rouge will probably be impossible with the city being in such a miserable state. Cast aside your feelings of helplessness and now take a look at the cages around you. Each one contains a Pokemon, and as you look at each of them, the vendor below the hustler we just spoke with will put a price on them. Again, the prices are all in shards, and each Pokemon will require a different amount and color of shard. If you've been doing enough mining and item finding, then sweeping up all of these Pokemon should be no trouble. However, I need to warn you, these are some of the Pokemon that you'll need to actually conserve for later side quests. If you end up using them, like I did with the Vanillite that's here, then there will eventually come a time when you'll have to give them up to fulfill the side quest. Don't make that mistake. Leave these originals intact and breed them for your own copies instead. Now, you may not be interested in buying all of these Pokemon. After all, we already got a Makuhita and Vanillite before. There are the Cyndaquil and Abra, absolutely stellar Pokemon, and you may be satisfied with just those. Well, leave the lot, and you'll quickly be flagged down by DJ Arclight. He'll tell you he's been casing the Pokemon Mart behind you for a while, and says all these Pokemon were stolen. He knows that returning these Pokemon to their original owners would be really difficult, and instead asks you to buy them so that we can give them a better home. I already cleaned the guy out, so Ark is very pleased. He says now there's a good chance the dude we just bought them from probably won't be coming around these parts anymore. For buying up all the stolen Pokemon, Arclight gives us a lucky egg. Super nice. If you make your way north now from the used Pokemon lot, you'll find this building labeled Pokemon Psychology. Enter and find this man who will introduce himself as a doctor of such a profession, who says his goal is to make Pokemon be the very best they can be. He tells us his services only cost 2 heart scales. If you take him up on his offer, then he can alter the nature of your Pokemon. Here it is, the second and much more direct way to affect Pokemon natures. This is an indispensable tool for min-maxing your Pokemon, and I definitely use it right now for several of them. I make Houndoom and Vanillux the modest nature, higher special attack and lower attack, and Greninja the rash nature, special attack up and special defense down. There will be others I bring here over the course of the game, but let's move on. Going back outside, you'll find one of your buddies from Magma here. Niall will tell you that he saw someone suspicious go into the watering hole nearby. We'll get to that soon. First, around you are several more vendors. This guy sells some more strange wares, as well as the Explosion TM. If you need to buy more data chips for password purposes, this will be your guy. On the left are some more move tutors, which like the rest of 7th Street, want shards instead of money. However, they still function like the rest of the Reborn move tutors, so paying them for a move once is all that's required. Further up the street is a lady who's selling ability capsules, once again for shards. Good vendor to keep in mind if you need to switch a lot of abilities. The northwest of the underground has a locked door, so head to the east and find this other door. Inside is a healing station and PC, along with a body of water that actually looks clean. This must be the watering hole, but there's no one here. Walk back outside though, and you'll find out who your gang meant about suspicious person. It's Bennett. I'd recognize that hair anywhere. Near you here are more move tutors. This first guy sells a couple useful moves, like the setup breaker move Defog. The lady next to him sells less exciting moves, the only one mildly interesting being roleplay. Before we pursue Bennett, you may notice that next to this tutor, there's a shadow, which is the indicator for a sneaky door. Step inside, and you'll find a small room with several scientists. This first one will blurt out that they are working on something based on the Ether Foundation's data. You know, that organization from X and Y? Talk to the lady near this enclosure, who will suddenly try to eject you by force. She's not that tough, and defeating her will make her tell you that she isn't going to let us steal her research. The scientist named Nadira then bids us to look at whatever is in the cage, telling us it only has the body, control system, and framework. When she learns we probably aren't here to steal it, she asks us if we'd be willing to help her complete, as she puts it, her baby. When we agree, she is very happy, and tasks us first with bringing her a Carvana. A Carvana can be obtained from the former Aqua Gang hideout, by fishing with a good rod in the water there. Before we go to get that, you may end up reading this book, which details that multi-attack has been calibrated to 120 base power. If you know what uses multi-attack, then you're probably aware of what's inside that cage. We come back with the Carvana, which brightens Nadira up, and she next requires us to get an Unpheasant. You can get a Tranquil on top of the building in the Onyx Ward that you ride up by elevator. When you return later with the Unpheasant, you'll quickly notice there's one less researcher than before, and the other one is starting to become worried about Nadira's behavior. further enable her by delivering the unpheasant, and she will be ecstatic. Now she pleads us to bring her one more Pokemon, a Luxray. That's a bit of a pain, as it requires us to get a Shinx from the Onyx Ward Game Corner. I go ahead and get the rest of the relevant Pokemon from the Game Corner while I'm there. When we return with the third Pokemon, we find that Nadira is all alone now. Her excitement is overflowing when we present her with the Luxray, and tells us the work is almost complete. We just need to come back a little later to see the outcome of her work. This will require you to leave 7th Street and come back. When you do, you will find Nadira standing at the now open door of the cage. She will say that she missed you, and tells us that he's inside. She beckons us to come inside the dark cage to meet him. She is overjoyed at the work she says we both did, whereas everyone else disappeared. She wishes to share this beautiful baby with us, calling me his father, and that we should take care. Well, that's going to haunt me for a while. Now the murderous creature is unveiled. Type Null. Fun fact, it took until this playthrough, reading Big JRA's guide, to realize that Type Null is classified as a legendary Pokemon. I never realized that, considering that its evolution, Silvally, has less stats than a pseudo-legendary, but it does have its signature move we read about on the table. The reason for that information, by the way, is because this is Gen 7. But multi-attack was buffed after that to have 120 power instead of 90. But speaking of Type Null's evolution, do you know how you evolve this thing? Friendship. What's really horrible about Type Null is that it starts at 0 friendship instead of 70, the typical amount that a wild Pokemon has. So that means, in order to greatly reduce the tedium of evolving it, we'd better catch it in a friend ball, or at the very least, a luxury ball. Problem is, friend balls are 3,000 apiece from the Obsidia Pokeball store, so I only bought 2 and had that luxury ball from the museum. I only give myself 3 chances per attempt to catch Type Null, and let me remind you of its catch rate. Yeah, it's 3, which is the strongest indicator of it being a legendary. Why am I telling you all this? For me, it means failing to catch this damn thing in 3 tries, and having to start again. Over and over and over. Paralysis, sleep, false swipe, I've maximized my chances, but yet I am forced to pound the trauma into my brain again and again. Yes! Finally! In the end, that attempt I caught it on the first friend ball, meaning I got to keep 1 and the luxury ball for later. Now I can leave this site of horror behind, carrying the memory of it with me as long as I live. Let's go beat up some stoners. In the right-hand wall of 7th Street, near the psychologist's office, you'll find this nook that appears to be a hotbox. Inside, your item finder is going to indicate an item blocked by these 2 bums. Only the leftmost one will battle you, so walk far to the right to draw him over to you. That allows you to get the hidden XL candy. On the other side of the room is a black glasses. Now head up to the other hotbox grotto, and we will encounter Bennett. He's surprised about us being in a place like this, though admits the same could be said about him. He says he was told to gather supplies for a procedure, apparently believing himself to be helping Luna. When he learns that we are trying to help her, he says he'll be glad to leave the way open for us, which will be just outside this cave. A shipping container will have moved to the side, revealing a door. Going inside and to the right, we will find a mining rock, and our item finder will make the rock behind it gleam. This will give me the opportunity to show the blast powder in action. After mining up a star piece, which will more than cover the funds of the blast powder, we can then detonate the remainder of the rock to mine again. Fortune smiles on me, as only after a couple resets, I discover another max revive. Awesome. With the rock fully out of the way now, we can pick up the invisible item, which is a rare candy. That's rare candy in quotes. This is a key item. What does it do? Well, walk out. That dude just lifted the candy. You'll have to talk to a bunch of people in 7th again to find which person stole it. He's in the bottom left of the cavern, near the soul candle salesman. He'll be very aggressive when we accuse him of stealing from us, and we will enter combat. His fight is nothing special, except he sends out a Haxorus to my Vanillux. The Haxorus is faster, and hits Vanillux with a crushing superpower, but he seems not to know who he's dealing with. This is the Clutch Master Vanillux. He eats you and your superpower for breakfast. Don't ever forget it. Thoroughly thrashed, the street rat gives us back the candy, which will allow us to trade it for something much more useful to us. Back in the upper right cavern, there's a guy who says he would trade his Pokemon for a level up, and becomes incredibly excited when he sees we have a candy. He backs up his earlier groaning by saying he will actually give us his Pokemon for the drug. Yeah, sure thing, buddy. Probably better for your Pokemon anyway. The Pokemon he gives us is a Piplup. Sweet, another starter down. After this, the guy's high is quickly over, and he wonders if we have another. Remember kids, don't do drugs. Now we could continue into where Bennett went, but first our friend Maxwell is waiting for us. Head up to Lapis now to find Maxwell posted up by Crodberry's house. He gives us the go-ahead to teach her a lesson and will keep anyone else out. I head inside to meet the crone, who immediately slings insults at me and threatens to kill my family. Yeah, alright lady. You make it too easy to hate you. She claims that she has bought the best Pokemon from 7th Street, cool, that's illegal, and 6 them on us now. Her first is a Victory Bell, but Meowstic decimates it in one Psychic. Next is a Quillfish, just fodder to Meowstic, but it is faster and goes for the throat. With a Chop. A Quillfish uses Throat Chop. How? Does it spin and hit her with its tail? Whatever, she survives and blasts it down as well. Next though, is one of the pseudo-legendaries. Slacking. That's a tough one, as I have no fighting types right now, but Vanillux should have the raw power to cut through it. Slacking throws a Frustration, which is almost assuredly max power knowing Crodberry, but yet again, Clutch Master. Thanks to both Snow Warning Hail and Slacking's Truant, Vanillux dusts the Sloth in 2 blizzards. Crabominable comes out next, as Meowstic goes back out to take 2/3 of its HP with Psychic. She goes down to Earthquake, and Houndoom steps in to finish off the Boxing Crab. Crod's final Pokemon is a Moongus, who Houndoom stays for. A single flamethrower doesn't kill it, and it puts me to sleep with Spore. While I try waking up, the Shroom uses Synthesis, but Vanillux laughs even harder as it hinders the healing down to 25%. Houndoom wakes up quickly before the sus Pokemon heals anymore, and burns it to a crisp. Crodberry is defeated, as she begins screaming more obscenities and trashing the vendor she bought the Pokemon from. She bellows about getting him arrested, when Maxwell saunters inside to lay some reality on the old woman. He reminds her that calling the police for the illegal Pokemon selling would only incriminate her, and tells her that she is no longer welcome in 7th Street. If Magma sees her there again, then the consequences will be severe. The nasty woman growls at this threat, as Maxwell exits with an air of triumph. When we meet with him outside again, he congratulates us on our show. He then gives us the TM for Sunny Day. Hell to the yes. With that, Maxwell goes on his way. Also, something to note is that the rest of the magma base where Maxwell was standing is now open. Back here is just an X-Attack item, but also another Houndour. I'm not sure why you'd want to catch it, but might as well. By defeating Crodberry, someone else has appeared in 7th Street now. Return to the Southern Grotto, and you'll find a person in blue. It's only natural that alongside the Aqua Gang grunts that were here in 7th, Archer would also be here. He relates that since we defeated him in Aqua Gang, he has found little purpose for himself. His only goal has been to become strong enough to defeat us, and now's the time to lay it all on the line. This battle ripped me to shreds before. Archer's team is far stronger than the last time we faced him, though still not reaching a full team of 6. His first is Pelipper, which starts the rain and hits my Meowstic with a hydro pump, but she fortunately gets a light screen in between him and her first. A second hydro pump misses, letting her survive with 100 HP to down the Pelican. However, he's immediately going into his ace, Sharpedo. I brought a slightly underleveled Zeb into this fight, but I also have Vanillux with Freeze Dry. Plus, Snow Warning will steal his team's weather advantage. Sharpedo was always going to be faster, but Vanillux takes the Shark's bite comfortably and instantly KOs it with Freeze Dry. Out next is Blastoise, who also goes first and slams Vanillux with a Hydro Pump, but the light screen keeps him alive. Freeze Dry does not kill, so I'll have to flip over the turtle with someone else, which will be Meowstic. Fake Out and Hail damage cleanly take down the Blastoise. Next is Relicanth, so I send Zebstrika out. Unfortunately, his recoil move, though super effective, is not enough to kill, while Relicanth's recoil move Head Smash is. Once again, Meowstic revenges it, and that leaves Archer with one more, Seaking. I leave Meowstic out to hopefully put up a light screen. Though she does, I immediately said out loud, Seaking's just going to use Waterfall. Yep, that's right. But you know what? That's fine. Use Waterfall, unabated, on my Houndoom. Always satisfying. Apparently, I was way worse than my previous file. Nothing on Archer's team should be a problem, especially since he does nothing to stop Electric from being super effective. The Aqua leader is defeated for the second time, and he admits that this has plunged him back to the bottom of the food chain in this underworld. He is humbled, but gracious, as he then awards us with the TM for Rain Dance. Excellent, all of the weather TMs are now mine. He says he's going off to die now, but only in that the man he is now will die, and a new one will be reborn. Be well, Archer. With that, we've seen all we can see in 7th Street for now. It's time to go sub-7th. Go back to where Bennett opened the way and proceed all the way to the left. You'll find a staircase down, and the mood will quickly shift. The Ice Path theme becomes slower, and paradoxically, darker. We have entered the sub-7 sanctum. It doesn't take long walking south to immediately find Bennett, and a whole lot of robed people. Last of all, blocking off our exit, is Elias, apparently choosing to wear sunglasses underground. Didn't you say you had your sight? Bennett apologizes for his pretty obvious luring into this trap, doing so at the behest of Elias. He excuses this treachery by saying it is for Luna's own good. Elias pats him on the back, saying he will secure a spot on the Elite Four for Bennett. This now informs you of the fact that not only are some gym leaders corrupted, but even some of the highest trainers in the land. Elias goes on to say that a ceremony fast approaches to cleanse Luna spiritually, and tells his followers here to confine us to the dungeon until it is over. Wonderful. We land in a cell deep in the sanctum, with our only interactive element being this book. Reading it, we find it contains scripture for the religion of Arceus. The passage specifically foretells what Elias prays for. The light will consume the land in cleansing fire. After we finish perusing the book, a friendly voice speaks in the cell over. This is Randall, who for some reason got captured and held here by the cultists instead of, kicked out. He isn't upset about it though, saying he's eating better here than out on the streets, and that it has helped his drug addiction. Though he's in no hurry to leave, he reveals that he could leave whenever he wants, thanks to his buddy, a clef key. This clef key comes over and opens our cell door for us. Thanks! He suspected we are more interested in leaving, and warns us that there are a ton of people patrolling the upper floors, and says sneaking past them would be preferable. He says we should also keep an eye out for any books we find, if nothing else but to have a laugh at the crazy cultist worship of a Pokemon. Haha, yeah. Funny. We escape our confinement and head up the stairs. Now we enter this episode's dungeon. It's time for a stealth puzzle. Like Randall told us, There are acolytes everywhere, and they aren't fightable. If you get seen by one, they throw you back into the cell, which Randall will help you out of again. It would be best to save as you go along so that you don't have to redo the entire puzzle when you're trying to figure out the correct path. At the very first junction, hang right and go up the hallway that has no cultist in it. You'll hit this junction. If an NPC is on screen looking in your direction, assume their sight distance is maximized. In that case, head to the right, then go into this room. On the table directly in front of you is a field effect readout. God, this one. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. The other item in this room is a spell tag. Besides those items, the rest of the room is littered with books. They contain more scripture, along with chapter and verse numbers. The words printed within tell more of the works of Arceus, both in the past and in the future to come. You may want to take notes of the words and their verse numbers. You'll need them soon. Return to the maze outside. The next move is to walk past this spinner. He will look up and right on a rhythm. When he looks up, walk past the hallway. You'll reach another choice of 2 halls. Choose wrong, and you'll be immediately sent back to the beginning. The correct hall is the bottom one. You'll come to more corridors to pick from. The first one you reach won't immediately get you caught, but the paths it presents you are all dead ends. You have to contend with the second tunnel, where a cultist walks back and forth. The way west is blocked by more acolytes. These guys may have great sight, but they apparently have no spatial awareness. You can walk or stand behind them and they won't notice. Use that here by following the walking guard after he turns around, and then stand behind the guard looking south while the walking guard comes back and walks north. However, you'll have to pick a direction quickly, and picking the first northern path, or trying to go too far west, will get you captured. Taking the first south is also a no-go, so you must take the second southern path. Inch your way through the candlelit halls all the way south. You'll see another spinning guard here looking left and up. Go to the farthest west tunnel and walk north. Wait for that guard to look up, then step past. You'll come to another door, but this one is locked. You're nearly free, but there's one more tough section to do. You can get a look at it from the left hall, but you can't go all the way north in it. You need to watch an acolyte who switches direction from north and south from the lowest possible tile. When he turns away, run north into the side passage and then elude his gaze on the north side. Good job, Snake. You've escaped the watchful eyes of the acolytes. When you walk up the stairs, the worshippers on this floor are all called away. So if you return to this floor, there won't be any more sentries to avoid. We're back on the level where we were first captured. Walking north, we'll find an ornate gate which is impassable. Speaking of impassable, to the left and right are more monks, and there's no way to sneak past them. Fortunately, you can battle these ones instead of being forced back into the dungeon. Unfortunately, when you engage the first monk, you will be introduced to the third killing field. Say a prayer. It's time to battle on Holy Field. This will be one of the most agonizing fields to deal with. The times you have to fight on this hallowed ground, you will be up against some of the most synchronized and precisely calibrated teams that will use this field to frightening effect. What frightening effects are those? To start, a lot of types get buffed and nerfed here. Special normal and special fairy type moves go up by 50%. Psychic and dragon moves increase by 20%. All ghost and special dark moves lose 50%. That's already a lot of variation. But here's a really vicious change. Normal type moves now hit ghost and dark for super effective damage. When you stop to think why, you start to realize what's going on here. Pokemon cannot damage their own allies, like they all have telepathy. Justified will raise attack by 2 stages on activation. RKS system will only change Silvally to dark on this field. Interesting considering we just got Type Null this episode. Cursed Body is disabled. These moves increase in power by 50%. Yes, Judgment is there too. That makes it now a base 225 power move. Holy! All of these moves raise in power by 30%. Yeah, all of those already very powerful moves. Cosmic Power will raise both defenses by 2 stages. Nature's Madness will deal 75% of the target's remaining HP. Miracle Eye additionally raises the user's special attack by 2 stages. Wish will heal 75% instead of 50%. Curse will get lifted after 1 turn. Very unique interaction. Nature Power becomes Judgment. God damn! Seriously, this field might make Nature Power worth using, all by itself. Let me remind you, it has 225 base power, and will hit Dark and Ghost super effective. It's almost comical how strong it is. Almost. Camouflage is normal. Secret Power may lower special attack by 1 stage. A Magical Seed raises special attack 1 stage and gives Magic Coat. This field sits squarely in the midst of the other killing fields. A brutal conception of type contortion and extreme power. The effects this field has on legendary Pokemon is going to inflict suffering on ye lowly mortals. We have worse fields to come. But for the locale of Arceus itself, there will be much gnashing of teeth. Depth 7. Difficulty 9. The same as the minor trainers in Radimus's gym, these acolytes don't use the killing field to its utmost, but there are several of them around this square-shaped room. There are also 2 light shards, and you can straight up leave the entire dungeon if you need to heal. I would recommend saving one of those shards for right before you attempt to enter the central atrium. Speaking of that, how do you gain access to it? You'll have to open the gate we saw by interacting with these 4 statues of Arceus, each of which presents you with a quote from one of the books you read earlier. It then asks you to put in a 4-digit number. The number you need to put in is the chapter verse designation that belongs to the quote. You'll probably need to go back to the previous floors to write down the numbers, and that includes the book that was in your cell. To shorten that for you, here are the 4 answers. In the southwest, the New World 2 shall be reborn. 3827. You'll see the gate partially light up beside you. In the northwest, all shall be white before the eyes of the Lord. 1605. In the northeast, light shall consumeth all within its cleansing fires. 2303. And finally in the southeast, from the memories of eons past and visions of eons yet to come. (0204). The door to the heart of the sanctum has opened. Prepare yourself. You move to save Luna from this place. But before you can set foot in the final chamber, someone calls out to you, and it sounds all too familiar. With trademark style, Ace appears once again. They compliment us of our battle against Radimus, confirming what Kane said about Ace's involvement in the Lights Out capture of Luna. Ace then alleges that Radimus has a history with Meteor. Great, that's what I needed to hear when he has the pendant. Though Ace is glad that our battle rendered Radimus's team inoperable for their moment to strike, they won't permit us to go forward under their boss's orders. So with a hardly illiterate alliteration of eyes, Ace of Hearts would like to battle. Battle upon this holy realm, and this is going to be rough. Ace starts with something we haven't seen them use yet, Alakazam, which is a major problem. Not only is it fast, but my Meowstic Shadow Ball, which is usually the answer to opposing psychic types, is cut in half on this field. As such, I go for a fake out in Light Screen, but the shield doesn't go up before Meowstic is shot with a signal beam for most of her life. That's all I need her to do for now. I need to get a certain Furious Cricket in here. The Light Screen helped Kricketune greatly on the transitional attack, another signal beam. Now he goes for Fell Stinger to hopefully get the 3 attack stages. However, Ace sees my switch and pulls their own switcheroo into their ace Delphox. Well, Bug's neutral against Delphox, even though Kricketune is weak to fire. Oh, that's the Zoroark! Why would you play that into Kricketune? Fine by me. Now we got the 3 attack stages. Time for the Fury. Fuck, Ace is sending a Togekiss out. I really don't want to lose this buff, but there's no way that I outmuscle a Togekiss, which once again Ace went out of their way to make shiny. How whimsical. I keep Kricketune in anyway. If I can't beat the Togekiss with him, then I'll make sure the rest of Ace's team is miserable. I go for Sticky Web, but Togekiss goes first with Air Slash. He lives because of the light screen. No, the flinch! Yes, the miss! Sticky Web will now hamper Ace's grounded troops, so now Kricketune can rest. But not before one more miss and... oh. Shit, it has leftovers too. Kricketune excellent effort ends, as I now need to destroy this Togekiss ASAP. That would be a job for Vanillux. He comes in to use Blizzard and... damn it, Ace! Why do you have a Primarina too? Blizzard, however, ends up freezing the seal, while Sticky Web lowers its speed. Vanillux's Freeze Dry gets a Primarina out of my way as if it were easy. With that knockout, Ace is going to send their real Delphox out. In that case, Greninja will do it again like before. Water Shuriken disappoints me though with a weak 2-hit, while Dazzling Gleam devastates Greninja's health. I'm hoping that I just get a big Shuriken this time, but unfortunately a 3-hit can't overcome the extra health Delphox gets from the Citrus Berry. Greninja goes down, and I move over to Houndoom for a quick mop-up with Foul Play. Now Ace is going to send a Porygon Z. Has Ace been watching my videos and knows what I hate? I leave Houndoom out there, since he will be faster, and I hope that raw power from Flamethrower is enough. Ace got this one shiny too, which has one of my favorite color schemes of the custom shinies, retro colored. As for Flamethrower, it isn't enough to kill Z, which responds with a massive Tri-Attack, boosted on Holyfield to be super effective on dark types. Z's reduced speed though makes it easy to revenge KO with Meowstic with Psychic. However, I'm reminded that I never dealt with Ace's opening act, Alakazam, and this team is not well suited to kill that. I switched to Camerupt, which I realize was a mistake, as I should have put up another light screen to help Camerupt. Even a speed drop doesn't let Camerupt outspeed the fastest Fuckazam, who blasts me with Psychic, but Camerupt tanks the hit. He then answers with an Earthquake to hit Alakazam's glass defense. Oh, but it's not enough. And of course the hail stopped just then, though it would have also killed Camerupt. Camerupt falls to the second Psychic Blast, but Meowstic can come back for yet another cleanup, this time assuredly going before Alakazam with a fake out that kills. Always a good feeling. But this leaves me with Ace's last, that horrible Togekiss still, who naturally is not going to be affected by Sticky Web. I have the Pokemon to kill it, Vanillux, but its power might kill him before he gets the chance. I have to hope that Meowstic is faster than Togekiss, and puts up the light screen. Meowstic's done all she can do, which was so much, and now it's down to the clutch master. It's a sure win, as Togekiss, though outspeeding, doesn't go for the Air Slash for a flinch chance, instead doing a Dazzling Gleam which does only a third, while Blizzard does a whole. Nail biter that one, way too close for comfort. Ace's team is menacing this time around, really utilizing the boosted moves from Holyfield. So many miserably powerful opponents to play around, but this team did a superb job at it. Speaking of my team, here's my last playthrough's composition against Ace 3. 3 out of 6 of them, Meowstic, Houndoom, and Camerupt, joined us today, while Blastoise was in Greninja's spot, and Heracross was my bug instead of Kricketune. Last I had Luxray. No, I didn't let that crazy woman have my actual Luxray for the type Null. As you can see, I didn't have any damage, so I can't say if this team did well or not anymore. My assumption is that I probably did badly, as I'm sure Sticky Webs today saved my bacon a lot. With Ace of Hearts broken, they start to question if their involvement is helping Meteor at all, as they have been met with defeat at our hands 3 times now. They mention that person T again, and how Ace's skills in battle pale in comparison to Ace's skills on computers. Ace then switches gears suddenly to ask me something. Would I consider family to be those I share blood with, or those that I share loyalty? I'll tell you now that there isn't some grandiose purpose behind this question. It simply changes some relationship points in dialogue. The way I answer it, I imagine my in-universe character being here alone in Reborn with no direct family, and think he would answer loyalty. Ace thinks my answer lovely, but casts loyalty as an illusion, a promise of intentions when such a thing can't be promised. This causes Ace to reveal why they're working with Meteor. They label their actions, in their mind, as neither perfectly good or entirely bad. What they saw first and foremost was that they were family, and that's all they needed. But Ace's motivation is cut off by Luna's protests behind us, and Ace and I quickly step forward to see Luna chained to an altar, Elias standing beside her. Elias is annoyed at our continual interference. Hey, Solaris already told you what I'm about, but he threatens us from going any further, commanding Bennett then. The bug boy steps forward with a bound Kane. Elias threatens to kill Kane if we try to stop him. Kane, for his part, is pretty calm about the situation, making innuendos and joking about Bennett's hair. Bennett blows off his insult, though Ace concurs with Kane on that front. Kane doesn't like being backed up by Ace, who repeats how loyalty is an illusion. Ace mentions how Kane's trust in them almost led him back to his family. Elias continues how the young so readily cast aside those of their blood, and asks Luna what right she has to do so to him. He reminds Luna of a legacy greater than she and himself, one that he himself and his master did also resent, but they eventually acquiesce to it, as she will be made to now, her faith restored. Luna retorts that she has plenty of faith, but only in herself. She throws off tradition to be herself, but Elias won't allow it. He proceeds to enact the ceremony to undo her sacrilege, the first point of which is to shave her head. Well, that makes me uncomfortable. Apparently, it does so to Bennett too, who pipes up to question the necessity of such a thing. Ace blithely warns Bennett on this, similar to how they warned Corey in episode 3. Elias is less patient, saying that cutting her hair as an act of asceticism is necessary for her spiritual health. Bennett still chafes against this, only working on pure logic. Elias says that she must learn humility, but Bennett flat out refuses to go along with this. Elias claims to see Bennett's ulterior motive, his own selfish objectification of Luna, but Ace then steps in again. They say that Luna's lack of consent will do nothing to cleanse her spirit, but Elias remains unwavering in his zealotry. He will carry out his lord's will, he says. But thinks not. The gossip queen appears to banish 3 of the acolytes from the room, while the 4th moves towards Elias. That's no acolyte. That's Radimus. Radimus grabs Elias, while Gardevoir pushes Bennett away from Kane. Bennett seems unperturbed at the turning of the tables, but makes a remark on Gardevoir's different behavior since she resided at Sarah's place. Gardevoir cares little for Bennett's opinion, and further outs him for the way he would look at Luna. While the Pokemon and Bug Boy quibble, Kane rushes to the altar and pleads us to help free Luna. Elias is angry at the interference, unable to act with Radimus restraining him, but he is able to snatch the emerald brooch off of Luna. Luna gets free, as Radimus then asks Gardevoir to prepare to retreat. Elias claims he will not allow us freedom so easily, but he is hindered once more by Ace. Elias warns Ace of this treachery, questioning whether they truly believe they are part of the family. But Ace says that if Elias must force this family to exist, if it is family worth having. Ace gives us our window of opportunity, and Gardevoir warps us from the sanctum to just outside the sanctum. You couldn't, go up to Lapis? Luna is eternally grateful for us rescuing her, as Radimus then says we should make ourselves scarce. He apologizes to Kane that he will not be battling him for now, and he and Gardevoir leave in a flash. As for Luna, she returns to her whimsical self, and asks if we are afraid of the dark. Seems like you'd be happier if I said no. Regardless of what you answer, she will step forward and hand us a crystal key. She says that key is the way into Iolia Valley, where her gym is located. To reach the entrance, she tells us a clue to check the soul tree in Van Hanen Labyrinth. She then goes on her way to said valley, as Kane says he has nothing else to do but to figure out what's going on with the guards by Agate City. He mentions how that's right near where we have to go, and asks if we want to take a lightspeed walk there. I decline. There's some more things I need to do in 7th now. For instance, even though we just fled from this place, it turns out it's perfectly safe to go back into Sub-7 Sanctum. The acolyte at the entrance says that Elias has gone away for the time being, and they won't give us any trouble. That gives me free rein to walk up to the altar and light this soul candle. This causes a Litwick to appear. Catch it. Now get out of the sanctum and head back up to 7th Street. There is a door near the elevator that has been locked since we got here, but now it is unlocked. Inside is a single holy man, but not to Arceus. He follows another god, Lord Helix. Praise Helix. In order to get anything meaningful from here, you need to be holding a Helix fossil. If you are, and you aren't holding a Dome fossil, then he will implore you to bring him a Farfetch'd. Doing so, he rejoices at the return of Dux, the destroyer of trees, and then offers one of 2 fossils in return. They are the Gen 6 fossils, for Amara and Tyrant. We already got a fully living Amara, so let's take the Jaw fossil. The next request the Helix Apostle gives to us is to bring him a Pidgeot. When you do so, he will proclaim that Bird Jesus has returned, and once again offer the same 2 fossils. Might as well take the Sail fossil this time in case we want another Amara. Finally, speaking of duplicate fossils, he now asks if we would even part with the Helix fossil we possess, for one of those same 2 fossils if we want them. Obviously, I don't need yet another of either Pokemon, so I continue to carry Lord Helix with me. It is at this time that I went back and revived all of the remaining fossil Pokemon I had in my inventory, such as that Tyrant we just got. That also included this shiny Cranidos, with this shit attack stat. How unfortunate. Of course, I'd rather keep a shiny to breed a better regular Cranidos. There's some more side quests we could undertake, but something is stopping us from doing all of them right now. In order to complete everything else, we have to go forth to Iolia Valley. So we return to Van Hanen Labyrinth, and find the solitary tree to the right of the entrance. Walking behind it will take us underground through a cave that leads to an apparent dead end. Nearby is a red crystal, and if you click it, then the wall to the north suddenly turns red and cracks. I'll warn you here that you'll need Rock Smash to get through the upcoming gym puzzle, so get your HM user out. That or use easy HMs. However you approach it, break open the red door, and walk into a much darker cave, and then out into... Here it is. You remember the music from the Obsidian slums in episode 2? Here is its true form. Once again, Glitch City's Mount Coronet Remix V2 at full speed. This is for sure one of my top 10 tracks in the game, maybe top 5. So few tracks in this game evoke an air of perseverance and overcoming the impossible like this track does. In the dying minutes of the early game, this track propels you into infinity. It's up to you to stand up to all of it. Immediately when you enter the valley, walk to the right for another Ultra Ball. Then head south along the leftmost ridge, and you'll find another red crystal. Clicking it will open the way into another cave, again bearing this darker texture than the other caves in the game. If you encounter a Pokemon in this cave, then you will become acquainted with the next field effect, which is thankfully not a killing field. Learn now about Dark Crystal Cavern. as Cave could transform into Crystal Cavern. Crystal Cavern can further morph into Dark Crystal if you use any of these moves. Dark Crystal lacks the Crystal type mechanic of its brighter sister, but has some stronger general effects. Dark and Ghost types get a 50% boost to their defensive stats. That's a cause for concern, especially for some of the fights that will take place here. In terms of move power, if you use Prismatic Laser or Black Hole Eclipse, it'll have double power. This giant list of moves gets a 50% boost, especially strengthening the Ghost type. Meanwhile, Light that burns the sky gets a 50% reduction, so maybe don't bring the Ultra Necrozma you just have lying around. Flash will lower accuracy by 2 stages. Solar Beam and Solar Blade will not work. Dark Void gets 100% accuracy. Moonlight will restore 75% of max HP if there's no weather happening in a cave. Synthesis and Morning Sun will only restore 25%, again when there's a lack of Cavern Rain or Cavern Sun. Aurora Veil can be used even without Cavern Hail. Shadow Shield will reduce damage from all super effective moves by 25%, even after the Lunala has gone below full health. In a similar vein, Prism Armor will reduce all damage done to Necrozma by 25%, not just super effective damage. Nature Power becomes Dark Pulse. Camo is dark, of course. Secret Power may lower accuracy by 1 stage. Using a Magical Seed boosts special defense by 1 stage and gives Magic Coat. So as you can see, there isn't much to what goes on in the dark. Don't snicker. Basically, unless you're battling dark and ghost types, which you will, don't worry, then not a lot changes from usual. However, this field sees at least a few fights that will greatly take advantage of the field's perks, so it ends up being more difficult than the other cavern fields. Depth 4. Difficulty 5. Finding Luna in Iolia's gym puzzle will involve a lot of backtracking. Back in the first section, if you didn't go through the red door on the upper tier, you'd be down here stumped by the foliage and water blocking you. You'll find a green shimmering crystal here, but your key seems to do nothing to it. Same with the blue crystal down by the river. You'll need to keep going through the red crystal generated doors you find, until you come out to this grove. There will be a single item, another crystal key, which informs you that you can now activate green crystals. This is the item we needed outside of Iolia. We're going to pause our pursuit of Luna and go take care of some last side quests for the episode. First, let's go take care of the last blast powder locations. Remember the mining rock in Bixbizian Grotto? Blast the rock away, mine some items, then pick up a Dawn Stone. Not that interesting. Now go back to Apophil Cave and find this rock. You can see that I don't try to get a max revive from this rock. That's okay. The item behind the rock is a max revive. Mine! Now let's turn our attention to this crystal key we got. Remember all the way back in episode 3 when we were in the Underroot and we saw that mega stone we couldn't get? Now we can. Near where the last wiggling trees from the Tangrowth incident remain, you'll find this gleaming green crystal. Activate it, and the green bushes nearby all suddenly morph into cracked crystals, which you can easily shatter. Now you can access the wiggling trees and further green crystals. This allows us to smash the once upon a time scrub here in front of the silver item ball. What do we get? Ampharosite. Glorious. We need to go back down a level for 2 more items. A meadow plate and another egg. Let's cut to the chase. The egg is Axew. There's one more area to use the green key, and that's back in Tanzan Mountain, where Saphira exploded out of a wall. We activate the crystal, and this rock changes color and cracks. It may seem like we can't go further, but jump down to this ledge here and walk all the way around, then outside onto this ridge. Traverse around to this cave where a simple strength puzzle waits, and then... Welcome back. Do this slightly more difficult strength puzzle to obtain this escape rope, which you're going to find out in a moment is the game's contingency for you when you enter the next room. Holy fuck. The mother of all strength puzzles. I have absolutely no idea how to give advice on a puzzle like this. There's not much I can say. Push boulders to access the 3 canisters in one trip. If you leave the room, everything resets. One tip I can give you is that even though the top row is a line of boulders, you can't reach all of them by the top, meaning you can't easily create perfect symmetry. In the end, the room looked like this when I finally completed it. This causes the tree in the room to vacate the premises, allowing you to head out on top of the Bixbysian wall. Here, you have another strength puzzle. Basically a higher caliber version of the one we did when we found the Mischievous. In this one, you have several floors connected by ladders. Most of the hallways are blocked on the left side, except for the first one on top. Drop into this hole since that's our only move. Push the boulder to the right since that's again the only thing you can do. You'll be on the bottom floor now, where one of the RPG Maker rocks was crushed by that boulder you dropped. Now you can move it past the ladder to the right and head up. Up here, you have 2 choices, up the ladder or down the hole. If you go up, there's another boulder that you'll be able to push down a hole. If you go down, you'll find yourself stuck between a rock and a hole place. Jump down the hole. But wait, this is the bottom floor. Where will that... This is the floor beneath the top of the wall. More of that lack of Euclidean logic. Go back through to where you could push the boulder to the left down the hole. Now you may see that you could push it to the left, but you can't go to the left. Leave the boulder alone and break the fabric of space-time to get back up to the second highest floor. Progress through the puzzle again until you reach this boulder from the left, and push it down the hole to the bottom floor. This lets you access that right side ladder, which strings you along to the very top of the wall again, now on the right side of the blockage at the beginning. Walk to the left first, and pick up this field effect readout for... That one? Nah, you can contemplate that one for a while. A long while. Go to the right now, and find one more canister, but it appears to be a dead end. Remember the grotto secret entrance? Invoke the same solution. Walk into the hidden cave behind the canister. In here, you'll see 2 items. The first is called a Urayu key. Ooh, interesting. The other is the Toxic Orb. Quintessential. Lastly, there's one more reactor in the room. When you click on it, encounter the resulting Delmies and catch it. It may take some attempts. Now walk all the way back through this mindfuck back to Tanzan Mountain. Something I need to mention before much longer is that I have been catching everything I don't have yet as I've been going back through the areas we've completed. This led me back to Tanzan Cove, where I attempted to catch this Rabombi. Well, failing that first one allowed this to happen on the next try. Shiny get. Then, a few minutes later, fishing in the cove, I had a Basculin kill itself with recoil. And then... Shiny number 2. And then the shiny Basculin used Final Gambit. Pour one out. So that takes care of the Crystal Key and Blast Powder locations, but we just got a Urayu key. Where does that go? Back in the Urayu power plant. Head inside and go to the left side back of the building. There was a locked door there, and this key unlocks it. Inside, you'll see a lot of electrical arcs, an inactive screen, and 6 Pokeballs. Those aren't Pokeballs. That's Radimus. I'm just kidding. They're level 85 electrodes. Yeah, the level record has suddenly climbed again. And what's worse is that you'll have to beat 6 of them. Here's the problem. They know the move you'd most expect. But they also know Discharge. Unless you bring a Golurk, you'll need to hope that luck favors you that you can kill with a ground type like Camerupt, or you don't get shocked while using a ghost type to get easy kills with Explosion. I took it a step further by having Camerupt hit one of the electrodes once with Earthquake, not quite killing it, and then catching it. That's very nice, but of course at level 85 it is far beyond our level cap to use. Just something to have for later. Continue disabling the electrodes until finally the room goes dark. Now the console becomes operational. What will happen when we activate it? We see, once again, very cryptic images. Is that Corey and his wife? Is that Sigmund? Then who? Is that a Rotom? Oh shit, it is! Catch the little bastard! It seems like we're done here, but there's one more door you can unlock. Head over symmetrically to the other side of the power plant to unlock this door. Inside, though it is very hard to see now, there are 2 items. The first is a magnet, but next to it is the more exciting Go See 'em Z. Okay, time to get some light. But we have to visit somewhere for the umpteenth time. The cemetery. This time, you'll find a person wearing that familiar garb. It's Simon. Though he was unable to retrieve Tara's body, he has created this marker for her nonetheless. He never even learned her last name. He repeats his desire to exact vengeance on Saphira, but now questions what good that would do. People feel towards Saphira like he did for Tara, and for another, Lissa. The other grave he's standing before now, the name was Lissa Copperman. As he says it, he has lost the girl he loved twice. He reveals the sole reason he joined Meteor. After his wife died, Sirius came to him and told him that Meteor's work would birth a new world. In that world, Simon would be reunited with his wife. That was all Simon needed to know, but when he was paired with Tara, he soon realized that he had fallen in love with Tara instead. Now, he has nothing left. He asks if we think he'd see them again if Meteor was successful. When I tell him no, he understands how all he has done was flee from his guilt, especially over falling for Tara after pledging himself to Lissa. He then declares he is resigning from Team Meteor, and that if we want to see him again, he'd be in his house in West Peridot. This place, filled with the names, all of which I know. The Belrose parents, Kiki, Jacob Crowley, the fallen officer, Corey and his wife, Elizabeth Connell, Xena Van Hanen. Soon, you'll know too. If you go to find Simon in this building in Peridot, he'll tell you that he has cut ties with Meteor, but won't tell us any information about them. He wishes to forget about all of them, except Tara. But anything else he may know about her is at the bottom of Tanzan Lake. There's nothing else we can do for Simon now. Remember him for later. Let's go from the darkness of man's heart to the darkness of light's absence. We return to Iolia Valley now to continue our challenge against Luna. With the green crystal key, we can now make mandatory progress by activating this crystal and smashing the hardened bushes. South on this terrace, we find another red crystal to activate, but then we find out we have a guest. Bennett. He straight up admits he's tailing us to find Luna. Bennett, your creep factor is rising. He says he didn't come here because of Elias. He wanted to apologize to Luna. He then tells us that we aren't involved in this and should leave them alone. Yeah, no. Ignoring Bennett's complete tone deafness, head through this cave and emerge on the other side to find another crystal key, which will activate blue crystals. You might spy a TM down below. Make a reminder for when you have surf. Now head all the way back to the initial section of the valley and find this blue crystal. Activate it to form a bridge across the water. Man, what are these crystals actually doing? Why do they have this much power and control the landscape this much? Another green crystal waits in the south, and another blue beyond that. Another green, another blue, and then a dead end. Up on a ledge above, there's a pulsing green crystal. We'll have to make our way up there from another direction. Head back to the first blue bridge, then head up, smashing through more crystallized bushes and find this red crystal to get inside the mountain again. As you walk south, you'll come upon the green crystal that stopped us just moments ago. Head all the way back to where we got blocked and break through. Another red crystal waits here. Go inside and you'll see an item ahead. But before you reach it, Bennett once again appears. He is insistent about talking with Luna alone and asks if we will stay out of it. Sure man, whatever, I'll take that relationship point. He's appreciative, but then continues to be perhaps unintentionally insulting as he leaves, thinking only he can make Luna happy. Pick up the item now, and find that it is, as it happens, the last crystal key, which activates purple crystals. There's one of those nearby. When you click on these, the entire room shifts into a new shape, letting you go to areas that were completely inaccessible before. This path takes you outside again, down the nearby waterfall. Walk south, create another blue bridge, then make a horseshoe shape to hit this red crystal into a small room with a single purple crystal. When you activate this crystal, it will morph a room in the previous section of the dungeon. There was another purple crystal beyond these first two as well. That's back in the northeastern red door here. Hit the crystal to shapeshift the room to leave out the east, hit a green crystal, then red crystal to get into an out-of-the-way cave. This one, as you enter, is not dark like the rest, and a message appears saying the crystal light flickers dimly. The two items in this room are the Dark Crystal Cavern readout and a Dark Memory. Silvally grows ever more versatile. When I introduced Dark Crystal this episode, I mentioned that there were some moves that you can use on Crystal Field to make it Dark Crystal. One of those moves is Dark Pulse. If I use this Dark Pulse that Houndoom magically has for this scene and not afterwards, this will change the field to Dark Crystal. When you exit the battle, the lit up crystal room becomes darkened. Nothing seems to have changed though. Well, get into another battle. Now the room will contain only Sableye, so catch one. Head back to the left side of the river and go into the lower red door. You'll find another purple crystal to touch here, which changes the path on the cave above. Head through there and outside again, then crush rocks in your way until you obtain this Dusk Stone. Now go back to where you activated that purple crystal and change the room back. Then go once again back to the topmost red door. Exit the cavern, cross the outside ridge, then go in another cave. You'll finally reach the room we transformed with that isolated purple crystal. Go outside again, and you'll be presented with a light shard. Get prepared. One last red crystal waits for you. Crush the wall it affected, and enter to be met by Luna. She's happy that we have reached her here, but that happiness appears not to extend to Bennett, who suddenly arrives behind us. He says that he was tagging along, bullshit you were, and he goes to apologize for what happened. Luna is the picture of forgiveness, saying that she holds nothing against him, but asks him to leave her and me so we can duel. Bennett, however, has more to say, stumbling over his words, before he finally shoots his shot. His declaration of love, though, only perplexes Luna, as Bennett continues blurting out his attraction to her. She pleads for him to stop, as he then asks if she would be his. Luna, obviously flustered, tells us that only we have the key to follow her. She pleads that only follow when Bennett cannot, and leaves. Bennett becomes upset at this denial, cycling through the stages of grief at high speed. He comes to the realization that Luna is letting us through, but not him, and becomes hostile. Bennett won't see it any other way. So instead of taking his rejection, he instead wishes to take the key. He leads off with Larvesta once again, hampering my leading Houndoom slightly. However, with Larvesta having decent attack, foul play takes it down. Houndoom then utterly eviscerates his team, starting with his Butterfree, who dies with no recourse to Flamethrower, then his Yanmega. Yanmega uses Protect to stall a turn for speed boost. With that, he gets a boosted Signal Beam off, but he fails to kill Houndoom. Bennett gave it a life orb. What the fuck? Give me that! Whatever, I'll just incinerate his Venomoth. Then comes his Scyther, which for some reason I decide to pull Houndoom for. I put in camera up for the quad damage Rock Slide, Camerupt gets outsped and wing attacked, but he lives to put it on 1 HP! Damn ranges. Camerupt faints and I put in Vanillux, who easily blows away Scyther, leaving Bennett with his last bug, Dustox, who survives the first blizzard thanks to a quiver dance, but then gets frozen. Yeah, Bennett, you had no chance here. I had another history snapshot for Bennett here too. Safe to say he was never that difficult. Suffering defeat again, Bennett realizes how stupid he looked and acted. But he's not through. He says he will get Elias to bring him to the top, and then makes a rather bald threat towards Luna and her rejecting him. He then shallowly wishes us luck, and warns that things will be different next time. Yeah, maybe next time have an actual Volcarona. With this awkwardness out of the way, a couple things may catch your eye. First, this purple diamond tile is a warp tile that will take you back to the beginning of Iolia Valley. Thank you. Another light shard appears for you to use, and it will actually come back again, standing in as this gym's healing station. Because how could a place like this have electricity? Then there's the telecom console. Set up in a cave. Ame just sort of yada yadas past that little detail, as she then proceeds to tell us more about Luna's fight. As if it would be anywhere else, the fight will take place on Dark Crystal Cavern, which will boost both darkness attacks, but also light attacks. She says that if we can't tolerate the darkness, just use the sun. Now head north and find one more purple crystal. Use it to twist the room into a new shape, one which contains Luna, along with some rock climb walls. Great, another to add to the list. When we speak to her, she is grateful we managed to get rid of Bennett, and proceeds to once again massage the reputation of darkness. She wants to show us the infinity of darkness, its beauty, its imagination. Now that we're standing in complete darkness with this very friendly individual, it's time to review my team once again. First up, Kricketune joins us for another gym that he is well suited to. His big trick, unlike against Radimus, will be very powerful if I can lay it down. Sticky Web will hobble Luna's team sans any haunch crows, allowing my team to take advantage of their above average speed. If Kricketune makes it out of the first turn, then he can cut dark types in half with his other bug type moves. I mentioned Haunch Crow, because what kind of all dark team would lack one? For such a pain in the ass, I'm bringing Vanillux as the specific counterplay. The Clutch Master has the uncanny ability to survive an attack and reply with a blizzard. And for something like Haunch Crow, it will deck the damn abuser of Sucker Punch. Following him is the first Pokemon to mirror Luna's type, Houndoom. The Hellhound's great speed and wicked special attack will scorch anything in my way, made stronger by a charcoal. Then of course, when against the wall, he's got his trump card, Destiny Bond. Definite linchpin in this fight. After him, I have my last returning member that has gym experience, Camerupt. This is an oddball pick. He's offensively and defensively neutral in this fight, having a very distant utility if he were to both learn Sunny Day and then use Earthquake to get far away from Dark Crystal Field. I don't know if that's something I need to fall back on, we'll see. Camerupt in any case is just a chunker to land big hits, even if he's far and away my slowest teammate. Now on to my last two, both newbies to the gym battle scene. First one is one I've already introduced, Heracross. It's only natural that I get a bug fighting type ship shape for the fight against the Dark Gym Leader. One of my most reliable Pokemon from before, Heracross comes loaded with both 100% accurate close combat and Mega Horn to absolutely thunder Luna's team. As for my last, I only briefly mentioned using him, but his typing is once again a no-brainer. Pangoro. The fighting dark type has graduated from scrappy Pokemon catcher to earning a spot full-time. He only has one fighting type move that's not all that strong, but it's good enough. Bullet Punch makes him the sole owner of a priority move on this team, so he'll be useful to flick over weakened opponents. The only flaw with Pangoro is that this field rewards using light-based moves, which includes Dazzling Gleam. I have a feeling that Pangoro will get vaporized by that. I'm confident in this team, both because of their strength against the dark type and the fact that Luna's gym fight doesn't register in my memory at all. I'm fairly sure she's never been a staunch barrier to progress for me. Let's see if that assessment stays true. The dance in darkness begins. Like I alluded to, Kricketune is leading the charge to get Luna's team stuck in a sticky web, and he's faced with a Bisharp named Carpenter. You may notice all of Luna's Pokemon have names originating from a certain famous book that apparently is canon in the Pokemon Reborn universe. Down the rabbit hole we go. Bisharp is annoying for my offensive options, but all I want Kricketune to do is lay down the web. Ugh, that's not the way you want to start a fight, and now our entire team will be at full speed. Against the Pokemon who pined to be in the chessboard fights last episode, I send Pangoro to slam its double weakness. The big bear is slower than Carpenter and takes an Iron Head, but Pangoro avoids the flinch to uppercut Bisharp into the sky, easily knocking him out. Next, Luna prepares to send out the Harbinger of Disaster, Absol. If there's something that knows Dazzling Gleam, it's that. So it's time to switch into my other newbie, Heracross. I go for the guaranteed hit with close combat, and as predictable as snow in winter, White Rabbit goes for the bullshittiest move in the world. Heracross stays green and pummels the disaster Pokemon down. She pulls in a Moxie attack stage, but against her upcoming opponent, Weavile, there's no way she goes first and survives, so I have to switch over to my fastest, Houndoom. But even my Doom Dog is not faster than the Knave of Hearts. A power-up punch annoyingly hits weakness on Houndoom, but he takes much less damage than I expect, and he unleashes a flamethrower back at Weavile. More annoyingly, it survives the scorching on a Pixel, meaning Houndoom is likely to meet his end at the next, even stronger punch. Amazingly, the attack increase is not enough to stop Houndoom, and he finishes off the Knave. Though I'm ahead in number, it won't take much for a team who likely all have Sucker Punch to level the playing field. From that team, I'm next to meet that move's #1 fan, Honchkrow. My prediction comes true. It's time for Vanillux to shine. Of course, Honchkrow goes first, but not with Sucker Punch. It instead uses Brave Bird, which puts a pit in my stomach. That might be too strong. Let me reiterate. The Clutch Master. Goodbye, Jub. Luna will now take the baton from Radimus. She will use a pseudo-legendary, Tyranitar. That's an issue. My two Pokemon who are well suited to crash into it with a fighting move are too slow and low HP to stand up against a crushing Pokemon like Tyranitar. But I have a great idea. The Bandersnatch is mildly fast, but not as fast as Houndoom. Come on, kill me, I'm here, come on, do it now, kill me! Perfect. Now even though I don't get to see what her final Pokemon is, I already know. After all, we met Cheshire in Van Hanen Castle. With 4 Pokemon remaining, I'm hoping Heracross can take her ace out. In case you forgot, the ace is the evolution we petted at Radimus's gym, Umbreon. Heracross might be faster, and if she is, then close combat will end it. Oh, it didn't end it in one turn, but Cheshire's Dark Pulse was not enough to fell Heracross. Excellent fight, and my hunch was proven correct. Luna did not wall me, and her field effect barely featured in the fight, though the defense increases on her Pokemon surely did permit a couple to survive longer than they would otherwise. If we go back in time to my earlier adventure through Reborn, my team was once again half the same as today. Heracross, Houndoom, and Camerupt. Mawile, Luxray, and Blastoise rounded out the team, and judging by their final health totals, Luna did not pose a great challenge. For our victory against the darkness, Luna rewards us with the Eclipse Badge. raising our level cap once again to level 70. We have reached the halfway mark on our league challenge. 9 badges down, 9 more to go. Along with this, Luna gifts us the TM for Dark Pulse, which is taking over for Crunch on Houndoom immediately. With this, she chooses to stay cozy in the Cavern of Darkness for now, and reminds us of Kane's intent to proceed to Agate City. She recommends we find out what kind of strange phenomenon is happening there, and bids us farewell. Indeed, we have no choice left but to attempt to reach Agate City. Little do we know that doing so puts us directly in the path of a human tornado.